Bishop Thomas Msusa from Malawi. That's in Africa. I would like to ask the first speaker talked about the secret and about the wars which are looming. But I want to talk about Africa because I didn't hear anything about Africa, about Malawi. In Malawi, yes, the third secret is there. But for us, people are dying. The war is there. Disease, HIV. 68,000 people die every year about Malawi. But Africa, 1994, Rwanda was in turmoil. 800,000 people died. 800,000 people died. And just recently, the constitution in Kenya has put abortion to be allowed in the whole of Kenya. The Catholic bishops, together with the Council of Churches, are against that. They are fighting against that. But there it is. My question is, part of the secret, the third secret, does it have anything to do with Africa? Thank you.
That's a surprising question and an interesting one, because I mentioned the biography of Pius XII before history, and I quoted from pages 52 and 53, and I also said that in those passages there are other interesting things, and one of the things that Pius XII said was that it would be the third world that would save the church, referring to Africa. So that there would be a crisis, and out of Africa would come the means of saving the church, or part of the means. So there'd be perhaps a restoration of the church that would have something to do with Africa. And that was actually part of his prophetic remarks. So maybe in that respect, the third secret makes reference to the churches in the so-called third world.
I would like to point out that Our Lady promised us peace. Of course, the biggest war that's been going on since at least 1972, and in fact, since before then, but abortion was legalized, first of all, in Russia. So when Our Lady says that Russia would spread her errors, we see many of these errors in the whole world, including and especially the United States, as well as Canada. Of course, the Americans and Canadians might think that this is not true, but the fact is, Our Lady is not being for this nation, against that nation, but she is rather talking about the errors, as St. Thomas tells us, that the first fruit of error is injustice. And so when we have the errors of, first of all, denying God the place he deserves and which he owns by right of being God in the public domain, by excluding God, one of the first consequences is that if God is not in charge of laws of nations, then of course might makes right. The force de plusieurs, the strength of the stronger. The French have an expression: la force de plus fort est le droit. I forget how it's the right of the stronger one is right. And so obviously babies are not stronger than people who are older than them. So now it's a right to kill your baby because they're not strong enough, because there's no God-given rights, because God is excluded. And and we don't have the peace Our Lady promised us. So what happened in Rwanda, what's happening in Afghanistan, what's happening in Iran and Palestine and so forth, obviously we don't have peace. And all this, Our Lady says, will stop. That the promise Our Lady promises that the whole world, not just Russia, not just the United States, not just Europe, not just one place, the whole world will have peace, but only when the request for the consecration is fulfilled. And so it takes a little bit of courage and a little bit of faith to ask for that. And unfortunately, as Bishop of Fatima said, that the faith is diminishing in Europe. He said it's worse, in his opinion, I disagree with him in part, but he said the third secret does not talk about missiles, but it talks about the loss of faith. And he talks about, and of course, which is implied by, and the Bishop of Fatima at that time had asked Sister Lucy what it refers to. So referring to what Mr. Ferrara just said here, that the faith of the church is stronger in Africa. St. James tells us, for example, that the faith of the poor is stronger as a matter of it's divine inspiration in his letter, St. James. And so it could well be that it's, first of all, we need a renewal of faith. And as long as people are saying, well, we don't have to believe in Fatima, we don't have to pay attention to the prophetic message of Fatima, then of course they're going to compromise and do whatever it takes to do in order to have peace for today, to get along with their people, instead of saying the rights of God come first. It could well be that the people of Africa will finally be the ones that can, and the bishops of Africa are the ones that will persuade the Pope to finally do his duty to consecrate Russia, in which case then Africa and the whole world will benefit. And I think that's maybe where it comes from. Thank you.